So let's talk about the only state in the union where car insurance is optional. It's New Hampshire. So last Sunday, Ron DeSantis dropped out of the race. He was not competing in New Hampshire, but he was trying in South Carolina. He did an event in Myrtle Beach the day before he dropped out, and attendance was very, very poor. So you put that into a stew with campaign problems as well as money problems, and you finish only 2,000 votes ahead of Nikki Haley in Iowa. And then, of course, the Donald beats him by a 51-21 margin, and, well, that means game over for Governor DeSantis' campaign. So that leaves us with Nikki Haley and the Donald. In my opinion, Haley really shot herself in the foot by refusing to do any future debates unless Trump agreed to join the debates. So, the two debates that were scheduled the week before the New Hampshire primary were canceled. So this led to a fairly affluent win for the Trump campaign by a score of 54-43, 11-point margin over Nikki Haley. So, what's next for the former Trump UN ambassador? Well, there are three options for Mrs. Haley. One is you call Donald Trump up and you endorse him and tell him, you tell him you will leave the race and endorse him, but he has to make you the vice president, his vice president pick. And that one is probably the least likely to happen. I think Trump is probably leaning towards, South Carolina alone, there's two really good better VP choices in my opinion. You have Nancy Mace, and then you have Tim Scott. We'll talk about some VP stuff in another video at a later time. Another option number two is Nikki Haley continues in the race to South Carolina. The problem with that is a little while away. Let me see. When is the South Carolina primary? I'm trying to think the date on that is the 24th. So February 24th. It's on a Saturday, so that's 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's a good month. Today's the 24th of January, so it's a month away, pretty much. And before that, you have a couple other races. I think you have the Virgin Islands, you have Nevada, you have Michigan. Those tend to be more favorable to Trump. So you have some other, three other contests before that would put more momentum towards Donald Trump. Okay, but another problem if you continue South Carolina is there's not a whole lot of people who have endorsed Nikki Haley. Okay, so people who have endorsed Trump, politicians from South Carolina. It's a lengthy list. If you go on Wikipedia, Nikki Haley's list is about that. Donald Trump's list is about that. But let's see. Okay, so you have the current governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, state treasurer, both U.S. senators have all endorsed Trump, right? And then, let's look at Congress. 5 out of the 6 members who are Republican. That does not include James Clyburn, the Democrat. But 5 out of the 6 Republican members of Congress from South Carolina have endorsed Trump. And that even includes Nancy Mace, who is more of a moderate Republican. She actually voted to vacate, McCarthy from the speakership because he was too conservative, actually. But Mace is still pretty good on most issues. She's especially very good on the abortion issue. definitely knows how to talk about it, not sound like some sort of hillbilly who has 15 kids, Anyhow, but also another thing with Nikki Haley is the her history in South Carolina. Back in 2010, which was a great year nationally for the Republican Party, Nikki Haley, she only won her race for governor by 4 points. And then in 2012, she endorsed Mitt Romney in the primary for president. But Mitt Romney, he lost by 13 points, and he only won 3 counties out of the 46. Those counties are Richland, which is Columbia, the capital area, and then Charleston County, and then Beaufort County. North Carolina is Beaufort. South Carolina is Beaufort County. Beaufort County down the Hilton Head area, that beautiful beaches and islands over there. So Nikki Haley, well, oh, by the way, one of my proudest moments as a Republican activist was watching Newt Gingrich whoop Mitt Romney's tail in South Carolina. And there was even a newspaper front page of, it was a Star News or USA Today, one of those, had a picture of Newt Gingrich working the drive-thru at a Chick-fil-A in South Carolina. I thought that was so cool, but I think I threw that newspaper thing away. But anyway, back to Nikki Haley. She has a very steep uphill battle. And then there's the question of, well, what if she actually does continue in this race and loses her home state of South Carolina? I mean, that would be super embarrassing for her. And I think would put a political hex on her. Kind of like when the Howard Dean scream, right? When we went, ha! Or something like that. And then Daniel Quayle when he couldn't spell potato. Just real embarrassing moments. And after Howard Dean screamed and Dan Quayle had his poor spelling moment, I mean, that was it for those two people in terms of political aspiration. So I certainly think if Haley continues to run and loses in South Carolina, that's all going to be her little moment, political hex that's going to end her political career, probably. But then there's solution number 3. And for her, in my opinion, is probably the best case. Well, I mean, being Trump's VP would be a pretty sweet gig for her, but this is probably the most realistic situation where she drops out of the race. I mean, not today, but maybe say, have a few days to think about it, but maybe like next Monday or maybe a week from now, say, listen, I'm dropping out of the race. Okay, drop out of the race, endorse Trump, and then start working for 2028. And also start attending Republican National Committee meetings and get the RNC to give you a primetime speaking slot where you can effectively discuss the issue of abortion. And I mean, in my opinion, the Republicans, they can't just pivot away from the issue of abortion and say, oh, I'm going to talk about the economy instead. No, they have to take the abortion issue head on. And really, at the Republican National Convention this summer, they really need to dedicate a whole night, I think, to the issue of abortion. Talk about, hey, counter the Democrats' messaging that, oh, the evil Republicans want to take away women's health care. It's like, no, man. The Republicans, man, they want to give people the best women's health care. I mean, they want to be the Apple computers of women's health care. They want to have a whole Golden Corral smorgasbord of women's health care options. You want to increase options for contraceptives, increase options, look at child care tax credits, reducing the cost of child care, looking at again more education with menstrual cycle, if I want to have sex on this day, I might get pregnant, but on this day I'm not, kind of thing, just this. Anyway, sorry, going off at a tangent here, but my conclusion with Nikki Haley is, look, she's only 52 years old. I mean, that's super young for politics. I mean, Ron DeSantis is 45 years old. I mean, he's practically a teenager. So. But anyway, Nikki Haley, only 52 years old, so that gives her a real nice 20-year. Well, people are living longer, so by the time she's 72, I mean, it could be a 30 or 40-year window she's looking at to run for president. But again, if she decides to keep running and lose in South Carolina, I mean, that's it for her. There's no coming back from that politically. I mean, she would be scarred from, running for president. I mean, she probably couldn't even run for local dog catcher if she ran in South Carolina. So, now, as a Ron DeSantis supporter, where do I go from here? Well, I'm probably going to vote. I mean, I'm definitely voting for Trump in the general election this fall. There's no question about that. The primary, I don't know. I probably just vote no preference or something, or Ryan, what's his name, Ryan Brinkley, or somebody else is in the race besides Nikki Haley. We'll look at that option. But the primary, I'm going to do whatever I want. The general, though, is I'm 100% with Trump. I just want everybody to know that, okay? It's 100% for Trump in the general election. Alright, well, that's all I have to say about this. I don't know if I'm going to be doing any more state primary videos. I will definitely be doing one for North Carolina, maybe one for South Carolina if Haley actually decides to stay in the race, because I know a little bit about the political geography of South Carolina. I do not know anything about the political geography of the Virgin Islands or Nevada or Michigan, because I've never been to any of those places. So anyway, talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.